What's up with the beautiful people in the world? Syria's leader fled to Russia. He's living there with his family. It's crazy. Humanitarian asylum is what he got from Russia. Ain't that wild? That's pretty crazy. Even more crazy, Joe Biden's gearing up to help out the Syrians with some money and Africa and all these other places while people in the Carolinas still are suffering. And it's winter and it's all bad. Where's the humanitarian aid from Biden for his own country? With that, let me introduce you to my two guests. You already know them. You've seen them on here before, but we got a hell of a show. So I'm like, I need some heavy hitters with me. So I got Smoke Pole TV, aka KG. What's up, my brother?
What's going on, people? Hey, just here, you know what I mean? With my guy and that young lady, just to bring some heat for you. There's a lot of activity going on in the globe, so we're gonna talk some shit and swallow some spit. You understand me?
You already know. And you know I gotta save the best for last, Miss SK Double Dub. What's going on, SK? You're muted.
Sorry, I'm new to this. Just hanging out, just trying to figure this out last second every time.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. So all this stuff going on in the world right now, you know, Biden gave a press conference, which I'm going to play that and we're going to listen to Biden speak, which is going to be a snore fest. But we got to get through it because we got to know what he said. We're also going to play remarks from Netanyahu. And then we just going to dive into this thing of what's really going on in Syria, man. What's really going on? So y'all ready for this? Chat, if you guys are ready for this, then go ahead and hit that like button, hit that share button, and get this thing out. Help us battle the algorithm as we talk about Syria. Okay, that's what I need you to do. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. God bless you. All right, so first, let's just jump right into the topic of discussion. Syria has, well, the leader of Syria basically has fallen. Syrians are ecstatic. Syrians are really happy that this guy has fallen, whereas not Syrians are super not happy, I guess is how to explain it. And I don't understand how people could be rejoicing in Syria, because I thought that Syria was like a super Christian nation is what I thought. It's a Christian nation, right? So how could they be happy at a former commander of the Taliban or Al-Qaeda? What was it? Al-Qaeda or Taliban, whatever, being put in as the new leader of Syria? I don't understand it unless they are for what we all know these terrorists are for, jihad, right? And it's funny because they're all in cahoots. You know, they cool with Hezbollah, they're cool with ISIS, they cool with all the different little weird groups out there that want to exterminate everybody except Muslims. And even some Muslims, if you don't believe the same way that they believe, if you ain't practicing the right way, oh, they want to exterminate you too. So why would they be ecstatic about this? And who really funded this? That's another good question. Can
I add something to that though?
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed though is that I don't know if it's because of the extreme nature of these people, these new leaders and the new people that took in place. Man, it looks a lot safer. I mean, you went from reporters, you know, wearing bulletproof vests and, you know, very, very scared to everything I've seen since the takeover. These people look a lot safer, and it's interesting.
We're gonna see. I mean, historically, I'll tell you right now, places where there's Sharia law, oh, it's super safe. It's super safe. You ain't doing that. Don't steal nothing. You're gonna lose a hand. You know what I'm saying? It's like that. But 100%. At the same time, you got this new leader is in cahoots with all these. He's loved, championed by all these other terrorist organizations. So, is that a good thing? I mean, yeah, it'll be safer for people over there as of right now. But as the takeover happens, because he's still not in power, he's still got the transfer of power, which the prime minister is still over there, and Syria. He hasn't left yet, even though, you know, what's his name? Bashari, whatever the hell. I don't know how to say their names, but he's gone. He's in Russia, and the prime minister stayed. And the dude that's coming in to take power said, "Everybody chill, don't be on no BS." Prime minister still in power, so he's trying to seem cordial, like everything's cool. And then to the other thought to that is maybe it's looking safer right now because he got told to stand down. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I believe that he is paid opposition, like he's controlled opposition. I believe that they installed this dude, and when I say they, I am talking about the Turkish government. I'm talking about Mossad. I'm talking about the CIA. That's just my personal opinion, right? They installed this dude in there so they can control him. It's kind of like what's his name? I almost said Obama. Osama 2.0. Osama was in what was a created character from the United States and ended up doing some things that he wanted to do on his own, maybe, or maybe he was led to do the things that he did because he had permission. Will, the comment, or I'm sorry, the link is in your Instagram. I sent it to your Instagram. But yeah, you know, he could be controlled opposition, because ain't no way people should be rejoicing about this guy being in office and then these people having a hand and getting him in there to take power. Why would you do that when you know he is linked up with all these other terrorists? The only way you would do that is because you're like, okay, we got this one, we can control him. We'll tell him when to start some bullshit so that we could go ahead and make a war. And in this war, we can go ahead and take some more control and we can make some money and we can make people scared. That's my personal opinion. How about y'all?
Well, SK, go ahead and kick it off.
I was pointing to you. But
okay.
it's okay.
I think we had started to talk about a little bit of this, I think, a week ago. And as far as, you know, situations that are going to be escalating to the point where it becomes very difficult to negotiate for anyone, you know. And I think that that's what this is all leading to. I think that the neocons of this country and the neocons of the world who profit off of conflict really need something such as this to actually escalate before, you know, Trump gets into office. Because again, when you start looking at where people's money's at, you know, I'm a strong believer. Like, and I had an argument with somebody earlier this week about, you know, actually it was my own family, but about Trump not being a neocon. You know, people are thinking, some people assume that Trump is for war and people think he wants to go to war just like everyone else. A lot of Trump's money is invested in real estate and travel and luxury things that actually do better when there's peace and prosperity. Whereas a lot of these career politicians are invested in oil, steel, and things that profit and do well when there's conflict and war. And I think that this is just a great example of things escalating before the more rational minds can get into play. And I think that with that, I'll step back before I go too far into that.
All right, go ahead, SK.
Yeah, the same thing. And, you know, the economy is always profitable whenever there's war. And we know that the Democrats were wanting war during this election cycle. They were campaigning on continuing war. So I just feel like our congressmen and the government that's in place currently are wanting these things to be taking place and all these proxy wars so that these companies can continue to profit and their stocks can continue to grow in value and they just make more money. I feel like it's just the military industrial complex at work. And I feel like the CIA is probably the one that orchestrated all of this with Assad. And I did see that Russia is saying that Assad is in Moscow. So
yeah, 100%. It just, I mean, I can't help but think, right? You got Trump won the election crazy style, right? And now they're doing this because in my mind, Democrats and establishment Republicans are the party of war, right? That's just how I view things. So they don't have power anymore. They done lost the House. They done lost the Senate. So their money is out of there. It's out of there. The only thing that they could do is make sure that there is war. So the way that I'm viewing this is a last ditch effort. We're gonna find out who owns some stocks in some firearms and ammo and transporting and all of this kind of stuff, because there's gonna be some wars. I promise you. Even though we know Trump is for peace, there is definitely gonna be some wars in his administration because it's set up. And then in Mossad, this is how I don't understand how people will say that Israel is our greatest ally. I definitely disagree. I think Israel is an enemy of the United States of America, and that's my opinion. I understand our need for Israel.
You know, I would be careful. I would be careful with saying that, because I would say that, like, maybe they're an enemy to our interests.
Let me make this point before I lose this, because this right here, right? These dudes are fun. They help put this dude in power, who's supposed to be an enemy, aligned with all the other enemies that they have. So why would you install this dude unless, again, controlled opposition? You need him to be in so you can say, go ahead and kick some shit off. And then America, they know, is going to send money to Israel if it gets too crazy. America's just going to flood Israel with money, just keep giving them money for whatever it is that they need. And they can start taking control of things. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the conspiracy theory, which I'm a big fan of. But this conspiracy theory says that Israel has a plan to take over all of that, all of the northeastern sections around it and call it Greater Israel. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I think Israel just wants to be left alone, and I think that Hezbollah fucked around and found out.
Go ahead, KG.
Well, the thing I disagree slightly with. I don't think that Israel is an enemy of the United States. I believe that Israel is an enemy of the interests of the United States. Now, in other words, just like in a similar scenario, I feel that Israel is drawing us into conflicts that we do not need to be a part of. So our interests, and they're drawing us in by acting as if our interests are the same or that they align with them. And I totally disagree with that. I totally disagree that our interests align with Israel. Doesn't necessarily make them an enemy, but I believe that us walking lockstep with them makes us and puts us involved in situations that we should have no part in, because from what I'm understanding is that this is actually something that a lot of the Syrian people have wanted for a long time. A lot of the people in Syria have wanted this guy out of power for a long time.
Yeah, fact.
And sometimes the less that we involve ourselves in other people's shit, then the better off we are going to be. The worst thing that America does is end up being the police officer for the world,
Facts.
and especially when it comes to morals that we don't stand by.
But that's what we will end up doing with this whole situation. Now, I'm not against that leader being taken out because he's a piece of shit for sure. Big time piece of shit. I'm against who they installed. Why would y'all install this man that is an enemy of the United States? Allegedly, he's an enemy of Christians. He's an enemy of Jews. He's an enemy of Muslims that don't practice the same way as him. Why would you install him? This dude was a part of he was a part of the same group that drove 2 planes into our towers. Why install this dude and then it be celebrated? That's my whole thing.
Because the CIA.
There you go. It's simple. It's very simple.
But I don't believe that Israel is an enemy to the U.S. and I don't believe they're trying to start anything. I mean, I truly believe that Hezbollah, went in there and committed those terrorist attacks, horrific things that they did, and Israel is trying to take care of that. I think the Jews deserve their own space, and I think they deserve a century maybe without having any conflict and being messed with. I mean, when has there been a period of time where the Jews have been left alone?
Okay, like that's an interesting perspective. Like, left alone is an interesting perspective, especially if you
when they start so much shit.
Right. There you go. That's what I'm saying. Like, being left alone, you can't kick dirt in somebody's face and say, wonder why they hit you. You know what I mean? And this is why I'm saying that, like, they're an enemy to our interests, is because I believe that Israel kicks off a lot of stuff in order to say, hey, come on, America, let's go mess these guys up. Let's go do this. Let's go do this. And we end up jumping into certain conflicts that aren't as cookie cutter clear as what they are made to be by Israel. By Israel, these guys are all demons and the bad guys. But these demons and bad guys are being provoked. And, I don't know if that's, to me, it's very complex, and I want to be careful with my words because I only know so much. But, I just feel that we are jumping into conflicts that, where you're making Israel seem to be some sort of innocent victim. I don't think that that's the case.
Well, but
I can't stand the Israeli government. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I can't stand their government.
Is if you're Jewish and you try to go into Gaza, you are going to have problems. But the opposite was not the same. People from Gaza would come into Israel every single day. There are Muslims on the Supreme Court in Israel. I mean, they would go in
I
for
gotta
work.
push back. I
Me
gotta push
too.
back on that.
Especially when you go there
Hold
now,
on, KG.
everybody's
Hold
dead.
on.
Oh, well,
I
hold on.
got,
I'm talking about prior to
hold on. We gotta have
October
order. We
7th.
can't talk over each other. We gotta have order. All right. We not arguing today and talking over each other. So I gotta push back on that because I got Palestinian friends, right? I have a lot of Palestinian friends that are from over there. All right. And depending, it depends on what you mean when you say if an Israeli goes into Gaza, they're not welcome there. But if a Gazan comes into Israel, that they're welcome there. That's not all the way true at all. It's not all the way true at all.
I mean,
It literally depends on who you're talking to. So I shared a video maybe 2-3 months back. I call them Talmudists because I don't like to put everybody into one spot. People say Jews and all that, and I don't like to do that because they're not the same. A Talmudist is different than someone who is Jewish, in my opinion, right? A Talmudist believes that you, SK, that you, KG, that you, Will, and that me are Goyim, and that we are lower than livestock. We are lower than beasts of the earth, and that we shouldn't have any kind of rights. They also believe that when their Messiah comes, that every person that is a Talmudist, I'm going to use that word instead of the other word because I don't want to get in trouble on YouTube, but every single one of them is going to have 2,800 slaves apiece. So when they look at a Palestinian, they're not seeing someone who's a human. They're seeing someone who's livestock, who's an animal, who is beneath them. Again, not all, but a lot. You got people that are rabbis out there that are preaching this over there right now. And they definitely want to put Christianity underneath their foot. So to me, the Talmudist Israel is definitely an enemy, not just of the United States of America, but of the world. They're the same exact thing as a jihadist, in my opinion. They're the exact same thing as a jihadist that does not want to see anything other than Muslims in the world. Am I right or wrong? How you feel?
I mean, I don't know enough about this topic. I know my beliefs, and I know that, I know, Willpower that comes on my lives on TikTok a lot. He
Yeah.
was in Israel on October 7th, and he was there for a couple days before October 7th. So he got to see how it was before this attack took place and then what was happening, after. And he got to see how the US government treated Americans that were in Israel. And this administration that we have right now weren't even attempting to help US citizens escape from Israel while there were air raid sirens going off and they were having to take cover in hotels and bombs exploding all over the place. They went to the US embassy and asked for help to get home, and they told them, yeah, we can get you home. It's $10,000 to charter a flight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They didn't help in any way. And so I just know, what the things that he's told me, and, I have friends that are Jewish and I'm Christian. And so I just feel like I will stand with Israel. And I just think what happened that day was horrific. And I think if that would have happened to the US, we would be doing the exact same thing, probably worse.
I don't disagree, but the thing is what you just said. You're a Christian and you love Israel, or you stand with Israel, right? Which is fine. I don't stand with Israel because I'm a believer. That's not why. I stand with Israel in the sense of that land being controlled by who is controlled by right now, simply because it is in the interest of the United States. That's the only reason. I wouldn't care. Let's say that the people that are trying to invade them are also allies of the United States. I'm like, hey, that's between them. Whoever wins it doesn't matter. It's still a strategic location for us, and we're not going to be pushed out. Cool. I do not give a damn about standing with somebody because I'm supposed to as my faith. I care about it as an American because according to my faith, I know them people don't like me because of my faith, because of who is my Messiah. They do not care for me. They think that just how a Muslim would look at me and say, you're a polytheist. The same can be said that Jewish people with their faith would look at a Christian and say, you're a polytheist and you deserve to be unalived. Both groups would say the same thing. So my faith is what definitely makes me not support you know, Israel. Like I say, I
I
stand
don't know, but the history between Israel and the Palestinians and the terrorist attacks that have taken place over, I don't know, the past 100 years about, I don't know. I don't see it the same way. And that's okay. Can
yeah,
disagree. And like I
yeah.
said, I'm not as up to, I have my Discord, but I can't click on it while I'm on here. I have the timeline of all the attacks and, you know, the stuff that I pull up whenever I debate this topic, but I don't have it off the top of my head.
I would just say this to you, sister. I challenge you to look at the people that run Israel. Look at what they would. Let's say tomorrow that they had world control, right? Let's say that they can do whatever the hell they wanted to in the world. The first thing that they would do is come take you, me, and everybody up on this panel out the game because
Cash,
of your
can you
faith.
guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We just can't see you.
Okay, interesting. You know, I 100% agree with that, with what you're saying, you know, and I think too many of us are falling victim to the thought process. And again, I love you to death, SK, but I feel like too many of us are falling a victim to that thought process where we support them for reasons that don't deal with the specifics. In other words, like, okay, yeah, we're a Christian nation, and, you know, and I hate to say this, but, you know, I'm going to keep it a buck. Hey, they're a white run nation. We're a white run nation. And, you know, I agree with them. They're Christians and they're Jews. We're Christians. And like, yo, then when you look into the specifics, you start to realize how, you know, that none of that matters. All of that's identity politics that have everything you just said that supports them is because of things that we think are similar. But when you look into the details and the specifics, they have gotten us into some severe conflicts. They've gotten us into some things that do not align with your moral fabric and your moral code. And like, you know, you have to look into the specifics. The specifics make us really backwards. And then think about it this way. The parallel that I want to bring into this is look into America, what those same people, the Zionists, are pushing here. Those same Zionists are the ones that are pushing
hold on,
the
KG,
racial.
Be careful with your verbiage. I don't want us to get taken down.
No worries. But they're pushing the racial divide. They're pushing the poison to the black community, especially us. It's the same things that Kanye West is talking about, and the basis of it is the propaganda that makes people be okay with it, that you're okay with. And I'm not saying against you. I'm just saying that the same thing that makes you feel good is what's really kicking you in the butt. And that's as far as my community, not necessarily the Indian community or the white community, but the information that they're pushing makes people feel good, but it's straight poison and it's killing us.
Will, what you think, man?
Man, listen, I don't even touch this topic because I don't think people listen. I think people have their built-in biases, and I'm not very well versed on it to begin with. So I'm mindful about certain topics that I touch or how I touch them, because first, for the record, I'm not well versed. But as I listen to people, I hear people argue one side and I hear someone else argue the other side. And I'm like, okay, did side A hear what side B was saying? And did side B hear what side A is saying? I don't think they are. It's just like talking. It's no different from a Republican and a Democrat talking to each other.
Right.
The Republicans aren't listening to the Democrats. The Democrats aren't listening to the Republicans. One side may be right. One side may be inherently right, but they're still not listening to each other. Right. And until people start to listen to each other, it really doesn't matter to even have the conversation, because each side is pushing an idea. And then the craziest part is the blind allegiance. When you blindly align yourself with a particular group, and you may not even know why you're aligning yourself with that group. You're aligning yourself with that group because of how you was raised as a child, how someone that you respect, someone that you admire aligns with that group. And you're thinking, oh, for example, let's say Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. aligned with the Jews in Israel. Most Black people will probably align with Israel. Why? Because they have love and respect for Dr. Martin Luther King.
Let's
never mind
what
the conflict is. Never mind what the true politics behind it is. Dr. Martin Luther King said it was okay, so I'm good with that. That's enough for me. I believe he's done the work, like Jesse Jackson, Reverend R. Sharpton. When back in the in the early 2000s, if they got on a cause, if they aligned themselves with something, everybody Black aligned themselves with it because it just made sense because that person had credibility.
Picking and choosing, but can we look at the fruits of the
it.
tree and then discuss? Can we discuss the fruits of the tree, just similar as to 9/11, the 9/11 situation, similar to the Iraqi war and taking over Saddam Hussein? Can we look at the fruits of the tree and say, hey, look, these are the agendas that that they pushed, right? And these are the outcomes. So let's go. I understand where you're coming from as far as your premise, as far as saying if these people would have supported it, then we would all supported it. But let's take everything that's currently going on out of the equation, right? And let's look at what they've influenced America to do before now, right? And then let's look at the outcome of what happened out of those influences. And the reason I use the word influence is I use that very, 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 very purposefully, because when you have media control, your most powerful tool is influence. You see what I'm saying? So we have to look at what was the influence and what was the outcome way before this Syrian situation, right? And if we do that, then we can start putting real identity on if they are an enemy or friend. Am I right?
Well,
you're talking to me?
I'm talking to everybody on the panel. Like, if we can look at the influence that they had and the outcome that was generated from that influence. For example, Black community. And this is one thing I wish you had me on, Cash, a week ago. You had a panel about the condition of Black people and them complaining about racism and all of that, right? And this is one thing that I wish I was able to say, is that you have to look at the influence and the outcomes, right? If you look at the influence of music and the outcomes, if you look at the influence of poverty and the outcomes, if you look at the influence of us going into the Iraqi war and taking out Saddam Hussein, and where these influences were coming from, the national media, where these influences were coming from. And I don't want to be specific. I want to say everything but the name of where these influences were coming from, right? And then you look at the outcome. Then you can start to identify if these people are a friend or if they're an enemy. And I'm not saying the people, but the people that create these influences. And right now, those people that create these influences, to me, are not a friend of the American interest.
Go ahead. Okay.
I just want to clarify. I shouldn't have said Palestinian people, because Hamas is who is in charge of that area, and you have to remember it's the same. You're dealing with the same people as Syria, and Iran with the Hezbollah and all of the different terrorist groups. You're not talking about an organized government that isn't terrorist.
But the deaths
I got a question for y'all.
You say in control, but the people who are losing their lives are the Palestinians. So it's not
right. No. Right.
Hold on.
That's why I wanted
order.
No. I just want to say that
we can't do that, y'all. All right, we cannot do that. We got to be able to just talk. All right.
No. Everything's fine. I just want to clarify that whenever I said Palestinians, I probably shouldn't have said Palestinians, because I don't mean the people. I mean the terrorist group.
I got you. I understood what you meant. Go ahead, Will.
Is America a terroristic country?
Yes.
It's so strange to me that we get to paint the narrative about everybody in the world. We get to paint the narrative about literally everyone. And when people complain about us, they're misinformed. I mean, we hate America. Americans, right? Think about it. We argue with each other. We call our president-elect, the commander-in-chief that's about to take office, we call him a racist.
He's not. Yeah, definitely.
But that's what we call him, right? And our society calls him a racist. So if he's a racist and he's the commander-in-chief of this nation, isn't this a racist nation?
Man, that's powerful, bro. What he's saying is the most powerful thing that I think has been said on this podcast so far, is that there's a separation and a divide between Americans and the American government. Because if we as all people can sit here and say, hey, look, you know what, man, America is a racist place. Like, and whether it's racism or whether
it's not.
Listen, hear me out, Cash, because this is what I mean. Whether it's racism, whether you say it's a terroristic place, because what are we dividing? We have to divide Americans from the American government. We have to divide, if we're good, because we have to call that two separate things. Because if us as Americans can sit here as every color, every race, every religion, every nationality, and say and come to conclusions and love each other and have rationale, right? And then the American government can sit here and create divides, and we can criticize our government, and we can say it's just like the United Healthcare guy that just got murdered, right? Because that is the guy who killed that guy was acting as if that guy was not an American person. He was killing a representative of the American government. Do you see what I'm saying?
Here's the thing. All right. So talking about all of this stuff, man, first off, when it comes to America, to some countries, we are the biggest terrorist on the planet. Okay. To some Americans, America is a big terrorist organization, but then the brighter minds, this is how I see it. America isn't an actual terrorist nation. We have corrupt people in our government, which is why Trump got a big job ahead of him, which is why I also believe where everything that's going on in Syria right now is orchestrated the way that it is, because they want to make that task even bigger. They want us to look like the bad guy around the world to start up some war. So Trump has always had the bragging rights of there has not been one war started while I've been in office. Okay. And right off the bat, when he won, people were already, you had Russia and Ukraine saying, we're going to have some talks, some ceasefire. We're going to get this thing understood. We straight. You had Gaza, the Palestinians, the Hamas or whatever. You had Hamas say, yo, we want a ceasefire. We don't want no more smoke. We're done. Right. But now all of a sudden you got Syria going up and their leader being removed, who, again, I will reiterate, is a piece of shit. And then the CIA, Mossad, and Turkey install this guy who can be controlled, that is an enemy, literally self-proclaimed enemy of America and Christian nations. So when we look at America being a terrorist, being terroristic in their approach to certain things, this is my take on everything, right? Personally, if you look at it through the scope of religion, somebody's always going to be the bad guy. To Muslims, the Jews and the Christians are the bad guy. To the Jews, the Christians and the Muslims are the bad guy. To the Christians, we like, hey, we don't agree with y'all, but go ahead and live and let live. We're not calling for the death of anybody based off their religions. Okay. So when we talk about America having the biggest stick, this has always been the way that societies rule and not society, civilizations have been. Whoever got the biggest stick makes the rules. And it just so happens that America has the biggest stick, which is why it's a problem when you have deep state people inside of the most powerful government in the world that are making deals with these other nations so they can start wars and keep us in a war so that they can keep making money and keep control over the people.
But it's two-sided with that, because that also keeps us with the biggest stick. As long as we stay in wars, we topple governments, we stay on top. If we stop having wars, governments can catch up to us. So it's no matter how you slice and dice it, it boils down to a simple misunderstanding or intentional misunderstandings. We don't want to listen to people with different points of views. And until we listen to people with different points of views, we will forever stay in conflict.
I can agree with that, but I just want to address the whole racist nation thing, because we've had this discussion before, I know, Cash and Smoke Pole. Mm-hmm. I just want to point out that when the rubber meets the road, when the U.S. is attacked or, something is going on and U.S. needs to unite together, nobody's standing there looking next to them saying, oh, your skin isn't the right color or you aren't the right religion. We all unite as Americans like we did after 9/11 and things like that. when it comes down to it, I think we get divided. The politicians do a really good job of dividing us whenever they need us divided to keep us distracted and fighting with each other over stupid shit. But when it comes time to unite, I feel like Americans are good at uniting regardless of race, religion, any of those things.
I think you're saying that from a and what a lot of people who look like me will call from a privileged position.
Exactly.
Because just because we go out and fight together don't mean we're united.
Right.
We're not united. This nation, and listen, I'd rather live in the United States than live anywhere else. I mean, I've been to other countries and they have some beauty, they have some splendor, but I don't hate living in America. I don't like our tax system is some BS, but I like America.
Everybody agree there.
And so I don't have any gripes as far as like saying, oh, this country is the devil or anything like that. But we are a nation that I believe panders to some, and we lay down the strong arm of the law on others. You say you stand with Israel. I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you stand with Iraq?
I don't know. Again, you guys, I don't know enough about all of these topics.
Neither do I, but you said you stand with Israel.
In here. Yeah,
but you said you stand with Israel.
But like I said, standing with Israel is more like he was saying, I mean, that's just more of it's more religious based than actually having knowledge of all of the exact things that have taken place.
And that's completely misguided because religiously speaking, Israel is not a friend of Christianity.
Smoke says something interesting, right? He said, we got the people and then you got government. That applies in every nation on the planet. The people are not running the government. The government is essentially running the people. Like, we're in America and we're supposed to be a government for the people, by the people, but we're not. Our government runs us. We're supposed to run our government. Our government is supposed to work for us. No, we work for our government. Our government steals money nonstop. It's not like they sit down and well, I'm not even gonna go into all the politics of it because I don't know all the politics of it, but I'm gonna sit and say this. If you say you stand with Israel and you take it from the religious perspective, that's like a non-American say they stand with America because of the Christian ideology. Are we a true Christian nation? No. We stand behind Christianity. That's the ruling religion in our nation, but we don't operate as a Christian nation. We don't. We play the political game. So when you say, and I'm not telling you what to do, I'm not telling you what to believe. When you say you stand with Israel because of the religious component, then you would have to stand. And I'm taking you're a Christian, or because you're not Jewish, right?
Yeah. No.
Okay, so you're a Christian, and Jews and Christians believe two different things. They don't believe the same thing. So you're standing with them because of the religious component. When they don't believe what you believe, then you would have to stand with every other nation that believe in the Jewish faith, but there's only one.
And what controls that? And what controls that? What controls those type of feelings, beliefs, and emotions? Media. So again, we go back
organized to religion.
So we go back to the same thing that you and SK are so critical of. When you say they, and this is one of the things that a lot of times I feel that is a cop-out. You say, oh, America's not such and such. They just want us divided. They want this. Everybody uses this they term. They are racist. They want us fighting. See, when we start identifying who is they, who is this they monster that does want us divided? The they monster that lets cops off and lets them out after they kill black people. They that wants things to happen, and this economic divide. Who is the ones that they want, right? Who is this they? You guys use this they monster as like an ability to write off the reality of who this America is.
It's the same thing.
I totally disagree with that. Let me finish. Let me land this plane.
Well, you hear what I just said though? Huh? It's the same they that you believed with the stuff that you're saying
This is what I'm connecting. And that's the same they that allows people to say, I'm with Israel. I'm with them. Because they control that narrative. You see what I'm
Facts.
saying? So we have to
100%.
connect these dots, and we can't just
100%.
separate the stink from the shit. You can't say the shit is here and the stink is way over there. You see what I'm saying? And that's where I have a problem with a lot of the ideologies that Cash, you have, SK, that you guys support, because you guys put a they that's somewhere far away from the stink. The stink is right here. When you're black and you're an American, like me, and I am a very strong supporter of American ideologies, the togetherness of we, but I also recognize that the they is the shit that we live in.
Okay, now again, see, that's kind of vague. The they is the shit that we live in.
What you guys are saying is vague. I'm telling you that the shit. I just happen to be.
Here's my thing. Right. This is why it's important to get behind an American first nationalist
100%.
standpoint
instead
of a race, instead of a religion. Instead of
a race denier, and that's what makes me a different type of conservative.
A political view. None of that should matter. It should all be based off
all of it matters, in my opinion.
A nationalistic approach, because it would end that. Because then we can set the standard to say, well, this is the American thing. This is the American way to live. This is the American laws that we need to abide by. And if you break these laws, you go to jail. And it should be across the board for everybody.
Gosh, that's sweet, but you're missing my point.
When we have media, right?
The
media
foundation has to be on realism.
Look, when the media is portraying things to certain demographics of people, okay, telling them you're disenfranchised, you're underserved, you're a victim, the police officers want to kill you because you're black, and all these things. And then on the other news station, they're saying you're white. Don't pay attention to those Negroes over there. The Negroes over there are crying about everything.
Right. I get it.
That's the issue, because here's the reality.
That's the they.
Here's the reality of the whole thing. People do fucked up things around the world, not just here in America. Are there racist cops? I'm sure there are. Are there racist cops that happen to be black? I'm sure there are. Are there messed up Christians? I'm sure there are. Are there messed up Muslims? I'm sure there are. Are there all types of people?
Please let me cut you off.
I got you, but hold on. Are there corrupt judges? 100% there's corrupt judges. Is there corrupt mayors? 100% there's corrupt mayors. There's corruption, and that is just life. People in the world.
We have to acknowledge who's controlling this narrative.
Hold on. Let me finish my thought. People in America and around the world, everybody has some form of corruption, some form of system that underserves somebody, all types of things. But the beauty of America, and I got to reiterate this, the beautiful part of America, whereas we got a bunch of people that'll cry about racism and cry about all the things that are bad for black people in America, fail to realize that America has made more strides than any other country in the fucking world.
100%.
When it comes to having a people that used to be slaves now being free and in key positions of power.
Let's get past all of that. That's great. And I agree with you, right? My point, and the reason I'm talking and the reason I'm bringing up these issues is because of the who's controlling that narrative. I agree with you. I love this country. I love this country. I believe it is. Hey, babe, will you refill this? I love this country. I believe that America is the greatest place in the world. Picking and choosing, you said some great things, especially if the more you travel, the more you'll realize the incredible nature of this country and the incredible nature of all people, of all colors of this place, right? But what we're addressing right now is the narrative and the propaganda that pushes that narrative and that divide between black and white, between Muslim and Christian. There's a they that is pushing this, financing the BLM movement, that's financing the news stations that bring us further apart every time that there's a cop killing, putting it on blast and everything whenever there's a black person killed. There is a they that, like, when we identify it, we get cut off. And that's why we have to be careful with our words now. And that is the most un-American element of what we're talking about. So I agree with you about the greatness of this country. I agree with you about the greatness of the people in this country. But what I disagree with you guys of is we have people running this country, right, that are part of that they that is still screwing us over. And until we start getting real with ourselves and real with that, then we're totally missing the point. It's
We're
not
gonna get
about
called
me versus
anti-Semitic
SK.
after this, just
It's
so
not
you know,
about me
KG.
versus the white person or the Mexican person. What it's about is the disinformation that makes us fight each other and stop worrying about the real situation. And that's why I say Israel might not be an enemy of us as a country, but they're definitely an enemy of truth. They're
I
definitely an
agree.
enemy
Oh fuck,
of.
that's it.
I'm
using
serious.
that.
They're
I'm
an enemy of
using
truth.
that.
They're an enemy of togetherness. They're an enemy of unity, and they're an enemy of the ideals that America has
Yo, I
not
got
yet
chills,
gotten
dog.
to. Has not
Oh
yet
my
gotten
God.
to, but we are aiming towards that direction, and that's where we want. Because once we get there, and once we get to the unity that those ideals that the Constitution laid down, the ideals that define what America could be, then we start looking at them and saying, like, yo, well, hold on, what's going on here? Is this really important to us?
KG, I just want to point out right now that you're going to be called an anti-Semite like me now, even though
I don't care.
We're not.
I'm black.
We're not anti-Semitic, everybody.
Listen, hold on. And I'm glad you said that, because look, I'm black. I'm black and I'm in America. My ancestors are right under the ground. And one thing I can't be is anti-Semitic, because if you understand what a Semite is, then they sound silly when they say that. The only people that buy into that is the uneducated. And the reason for that is, again, they control the narrative. When you understand what the narrative is, you can't be controlled by it.
Soros.
Right.
That's Hungary. That's not Israel. That's Hungary. That's like Germany. That's not Israel.
I'm sorry.
No, okay. Again, this is all I'm saying. Smallest population, right, in America is, if I'm not mistaken,
Native American.
No. I mean, I'm not talking about excluding the natives, right? Is the Talmudist. The Talmudist. I use that word because I don't want to get beat on for saying the other word. The Talmudist. And yet they are in every key position of power around the world. They are the minority in the entire world, yet have the most influence and most power around the world. Okay? Now, if we're going to use the Bible says that that's not supposed to be. Right now, they are not supposed to be in power. Right now, they're not supposed to have any roles like that. Right now, they're supposed to be waiting on the Messiah to come back and give them a homeland, because it's going to come from him. That's biblical. Yet, everybody says we're going to stand with Israel because that's the land that God gave them. Them?
What?
I doubt it was them, because they shouldn't be there then if that's what it is. Go ahead.
I like to simplify things, right? So the way you brothers are talking right now, I think people have to be, like Smoke said, to the uneducated, right? When he said for someone to refer to them as anti-Semite. And most people, I think most Americans don't even know what anti-Semitism is, anti-Semitic, Semite. Most people don't know what it means. I can almost guarantee you that most people that look like us don't know what it means and don't care what it means. It's not anything in our vernacular. It's nothing that we come in contact with on a regular basis. So when you hear this stuff thrown around on CNN and Fox News, there's a lot of people that's just like, they just kind of tune out. Then you get a lot of people who get overly invested, overly emotionally charged with it. Then you get some people who are knowledgeable about it, and they kind of understand, they kind of see how people are being manipulated by it. And they're like, oh, I see what's going on. I see the game. Y'all over here confusing people. Not only are y'all confusing people, y'all getting these people emotionally charged. Y'all tuning some of these people out because y'all talking about things that don't even matter to a large group of demographic. I mean, a large population of our country, because Jewish people don't represent a large population of our country. African Americans do. And we don't have these issues thrown around on a regular basis on CNN and Fox News and MSNBC talking about the issues that face a group of Americans now. Now we're talking about American Jewish people who, if you had to choose, they're going to choose Israel over America. But we will fight tooth and nail, claw, scratch, bite, scream and kick for a people group who, if they had to choose their allegiance, it will not be here. It will be there. So I want to get back to the simplicity. So I asked Miss SK a simple question, and I think it got missed. And because we just moved past it, So Miss SK says she stand with Israel. I'm trying to figure out, I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm not telling you you're right. I'm just trying to gain understanding as to why. You say religion. Okay. The religions are not the same. So what about what garners your position to stand with Israel?
Good question. You're muted, SK.
Again, I'm new to this and a total idiot. But I feel like the religion really only starts to deviate whenever you get to Jesus. Up until all of that, it's a lot more similar than anything else.
Okay, is that the reason why? Because they don't recognize Jesus, and Christians recognize him as their Messiah.
Right.
Well, they don't recognize Jesus as the Messiah, and Christians do, and that's a huge deal.
Right, but up until that point, it's the same.
That's the biggest
No,
point, though.
it's not. You got the dietary laws that they follow that we don't follow. You have the Sabbath day that they use, the holy days that they celebrate.
And when you speak about the Talmud, it gets even further and further apart.
Yes,
when you actually bring up the details, which I'm not going to go into just yet, unless we get pushed back on this, when you bring up the different books and the levels of this, it's even more disgusting.
But gentlemen, check this out. Remember, that's more people who are well-versed, right? So the general population would agree with her. The general population will say the only difference is Jesus. So I like to keep it simple. All right. Let's just keep it about Jesus, right? Take all the other things out. The dietary restrictions, keeping the Sabbath, take all of that stuff out. The Tanakh versus the full 66 books. Just focus on Jesus. So if Jesus is the only difference, and they're clearly saying he's not the Messiah, and Christians are saying he is the Messiah, that's enough to create a complete divide. There should be no allegiance with that, because the Christians say the only way to get to heaven is through the Son. So if Jews don't believe that, they believe two different things. So I'm just curious, and I'm not trying to put you on a hot seat. Only reason why I'm doing
this. No,
you're
fine. I just did not come here prepared to talk about Israel.
I didn't.
No. It's not about talking about Israel.
Yeah,
I don't want you to talk about Israel.
And I was just checking my messages because I invited Intel Guy to come, and he was like, he just sent me something about Israel and Russia.
I don't listen. I don't talk about Israel. I don't know enough about Israel.
I don't either. That's
right?
why I'm like,
but I think we have enough to articulate why we stand with someone. If we verbalize, I stand with, like, I don't stand with BLM. The whole notion of Black Lives Matter. I'm a black man, right? You would think, oh, it's easy to get behind the notion of Black Lives Matter, and I don't stand with Black Lives Matter. If I stand with them, I will have to take account as to why I stand with them. I'm just asking you, why do you stand with them? I'm not telling you you're right. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I just want to know why.
Yeah, I feel like based on my knowledge and understanding of my religious beliefs in the Bible, that's just how I feel like it is. And I feel like my, my Jewish friends and, a friend of mine that was there in Israel when all of this happened and took place, like I said, the difference between before October 7th and after, I just feel like for me, that's the right thing to do. And whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. And I'm somebody who's always prepared with like primary source information to back up my argument and my stance. So I'm like way off balance here in this conversation because I just don't know enough to be able to say, well, there was this conflict that took place on this day and this, I just am not prepared.
That's getting into the politics of it, right? I don't want you to go into the politics. I'm with you. Me and you are in the same boat. These two over here, they could probably talk this politics stuff all day long. You and I are on the novice level, right? So as novices, we could publicly declare something, or we could say, I'm not sure. You publicly declare. So
I do feel like I should publicly declare and stand up for my Jewish friends and for Israel. I feel like that's the right thing to do. I mean, why it is I feel that way, I mean, I can't give you a solid good answer about that.
Okay, cool. I accept that. Last thing I'll ask you, and then I'll leave it alone because I don't want to sound like I'm badgering you. Okay.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay, but I just don't.
Politics all day, every day.
Okay,
Trust me,
so
you're fine.
So let's just say today was the rapture. Would you expect your Jewish friends to enter the kingdom of heaven?
Nope.
Based on your faith, I'm not based on your faith. If your faith is
the
true,
Bible says that nobody, it comes to the Father except through me. So I mean, but that,
wait.
So that's going to be my answer.
I sense what a lot of people do, right? See, like I'm known for putting people on the hot seat, and not because I'm trying to push a narrative, but it's based on what people say. So based on what you said, I'm going to stand allegiance with these people, knowing these people don't believe in what I believe, and I'm standing with them because of what I believe. I'm saying that my belief, our beliefs align so much, but not enough for them to enter the kingdom of heaven. Yet I'm going to stand with them, and despite whatever may be going on, I know enough to say these people don't believe what I believe, and they will not enter the kingdom of heaven. But yet I'm going to affix myself to a people group that I think is basically condemned for eternal damnation based on what they believe.
Solid point.
Very solid. Incredibly, masterfully done. And can I please add just one thing on there? That was incredible. Like very, very touching and very, very true. There's a lot to add to that, but just like you said, that was very, very clear and concise. The one thing I do want to add is the they element. And just to reiterate, that they element is the reason that you feel in support of that is because they control the narrative. When the narrative is controlled by a certain group of people, because I have good friends, great friends, that are aligned with Israel no matter what, wrong, right, or otherwise. They're aligned with that. But that's why I said we have to look at the tree, look at the fruit, and look at everything in the past. And let's kind of bring this back to the Syria thing and so forth, just to kind of bring it back to it. Right now, I think that when we start looking at the interest of the American government and the interest of the American people, it's becoming further and further apart. It's becoming further and further apart. The interest of us American people, like we spoke about on other podcasts before, is that veteran sleeping under the bridge, our economic situations, us being able to afford homes, having peace amongst each other, American people. The interest of the American government is way different than that. And who controls this narrative that ties us in to countries such as Israel and makes us feel, even despite our own religious beliefs and what they say, which picking and choosing, you just masterfully discussed the enormous difference. We are tied into them, locked in step. But why? It's because, man, the control of what you're told is so influential. Even despite your own religious beliefs, you will lock in with, hey, man, these people are just like me. These people are just like me. And that's the weird part about it, is that especially when it comes to somebody, and this is the part that you guys, a lot of your viewers might not like about me, is especially when it has a face that looks like yours. Because see, even if your ideologies match up with a face that looks different, because there are a lot of African Black Jews that, man, are if they were punished, enslaved, and messed up, you wouldn't give a damn about. In Israel, hold on, listen. In Israel, because if you know some real Israelis that are honest about it, there are Black Jews in Israel that are pushed to the very bottom of the existence of, like, I mean, they are totally
the Ethiopians.
And not even the ones just in Ethiopia. I'm talking about in Israel.
Yeah, the Ethiopian Jews that went to Israel and the Igbos.
Exact, and they're pushed and treated like total terrible. And if we watch them suffer, I guarantee people that hold those similar beliefs as SK, these are my friends. These are the people that say this. Although that goes totally against their actual doctrine, we have no empathy and no compassion for. And that's what I'm saying as far as the day. Whoever controls the narrative controls the feeling of the American people. And as long as the American people are not looking at things without a racial bias, without a bias towards nationalism and saying, hey, look, just because American government, I am an American person type person. I'm not just somebody who goes with any specific element because they look like me. If you're an American first person, I'm with you. And when I say American first, I'm not talking about the American government. I'm talking about the American people.
All right.
Right.
And SK, I'm gonna let you go, and then I'm gonna get a final word because we got to get up off here. We've been exceeded our time, but go ahead, SK.
I just want to say that I do, like going back, I've been, sitting here for a second, kind of thinking about, his question to me, because that kind of threw me off there for a second. And then I saw Kitty Cat's comment saying you have to know God's word. And I mean, the Jews are God's chosen people. Jesus was a Jew. And it is our duty as Christians, I feel, to defend the Jewish people. And I don't necessarily think that the Jewish people wouldn't go to heaven. Obviously, I'm not the judge of that. But I think it is important for me to point out for any Christians that might be listening or wondering what this conversation is that's taking place. I mean, the Jews are God's chosen people, and Jesus was a Jew, and it is literally our duty to help protect the Jewish people.
All right. And with that, I just want to say this in response to that.
Those who claim that they're
the
Jews,
chosen people of God are no longer Jew nor Gentile. Any person who accepts Jesus Christ as their Messiah is God's chosen people. And if it was anything other than that, well, guess what? They would all go to heaven. God would come back for all of them and bring them together into his holy sight. So maybe the Jews are God's chosen people of the Bible, because in the past, that's what their mandate was. They were supposed to be set apart to be an example to the world, and they failed horribly at it. Failed horribly at it. And then there's the other argument that those people that are sitting over there in Israel right now aren't even Jewish people. I just want to throw that out there.
Right.
And I just got to say this. If you look through all the different captivities, the times where they've been scattered all over the world, it's another reason why we say we don't know who's actually an Israelite today and who's not. We don't know, because they've been scattered. It was foretold in the Bible that they will be scattered all over the world. So there could be Jews sitting right here, right now, that you're talking to that you may not know is actually Jews.
And the one, and in your doctrine, it says those who proclaim to be Jews and are not are
that's
the
in Revelation
synagogue of Satan.
That's in Revelation.
Exactly.
And again, I don't want to touch on that part right there. I don't want to touch it. That could get us banned.
We
I don't want to touch it. I know, but hey, we're on a site right now that is owned by Talmudists. So in closing, I just want to say I stand with Israel. I love Jewish people. I think that the Jews are the greatest thing in the world. And hallelujah. Is that cool? YouTube,
Merry Christmas,
Facebook,
bro.
That way I don't get taken down. Is that good? Is that satisfying? Okay.
Merry Christmas.
I hope so. I hope that's satisfying. That being said, though, in all seriousness, man, we deviated hardcore, which was great. I think that I'm going to change this from now on. Anytime I go live with y'all, I'm not going to put a title on it. I'm just going to say it's just talk, and it's going to have a gavel, because this is a just kind of talk right here. And this is the kind of conversations that I love having. You know, I love when it mutates and just goes different places. It's beautiful. And all of you all are educated, very brilliant people. And I love having you guys on. But yeah, man. And I gotta say it, since we've had so much talk about religion and all of that, I just want everybody out there that's watching right now to know, if you have not accepted the gift of God, okay, the gift of Yah that came by way of his one and only son, Jesus, aka Yeshua, well, you're missing out. You need to do that. So if you are an Israeli that is watching this, a Jewish person, a Muslim, an atheist, one of them weird Scientology people, if you're watching this right now, I just want you to know you can have the gift. He sent it for you. Came down off the throne, walked in the flesh, died, rose again for you and for me. So that being said, just accept. That's all you got to do. And just watch the change happen. All right. Beyond that, become an American nationalist if you live in America. It's the best thing for you. Then you don't have to worry about anything, that's going on with the politics. You don't got to care about what somebody's saying about their religion. You don't got to care about what somebody's saying about their political party. You ain't got to care about none of that because you're worried about America being first. You're worried about the rights and privileges of all of those people that are born in this land, just like you, just like me, our forefathers. This is our land. And you would be proud of that. And you would stand on business. So with that, become a nationalist. I bid you all adieu by saying, unite, don't fight, be a street light. Because only you can be the change we see in the world. And when you get too stressed out, you got to remember to pray, America, because without God, everything falls apart. And that's a fact. Trump is our president. Christ is king. Peace.